tell you not to keep it short, there's too many stories and so forth and so on, but, I don't know, I really don't know where to begin, you know? When people say to me, why is this so special? You know, I mean, it's just taking a uniform. No one in LeMoyne College wanted to get rid of the uniforms anyway, so it's no big thing. And I said, really? I said, when Joe and the group got together and named the field after me, I didn't think you could get any better than that. But I didn't get the shirt with it, and the players, that was the reason that they were naming the field after me. So then when I went into the Hall of Fame with the college coaches, you say, hey, that's a very small group of people, not too many Northeastern guys are in that Hall of Fame. But again, my family was there, but nobody was there to share it with me. So then, when I became chairman of Division I baseball, and if you're involved in baseball, it doesn't get any higher than being the chairman of Division I. Well, not only that, but in the only time in the history of the NCAA, they gave me an extra year. So I was chairman of that committee for 2 years, where everything that happened in Omaha, they ran it by you. I didn't get to share that with the people that got me there. Now Kevin was there, and he was up in the press box one day when we had to make a decision where we were going to put the tarp on and not put the tarp on. And the TV, they want to run it, they don't want to put the tarp on. And Danny Pope said to me, hey, what are we going to do? I got myself down, and we put the tarp on, and we kept the TV off for 45 minutes and so forth. But we got the game in. But my point is, I didn't get to share that. Now, I get to share it with Eric. And I think that, you know, one of the things that was on that video that said that if a player put that uniform on and liked it as much as I did, then fine, put my name on that thing. Well, that was Eric. And I tried to put on that tape, you know, my feelings about Eric Holstein. But Jimmy Wessinger was our first player to play in the major leagues. And he was working part-time, nobody got paid up there back then. He was working part-time, and we were in the NCAA tournament out at the ballpark. And I said to Jim, will you do me a favor, there's a player over to Camden that I hear is a pretty good player. Would you go and check it out for me? So we're in about the 4th or 5th inning at the ball, and in comes Jimmy Wessinger. He says he's your kind of player, coach. I said, what are you talking about, my kind of player? He loves to play, and he's as hard-nosed, tough as you can come by. A little bit of a problem. I said, what's the problem? He said, he's got long hair. I said, uh-oh, do you think that'll be a problem? And he said, this is Jimmy Wessinger saying to me, I'm telling you, this kid is your kind of guy. He really wants to play. So, being able to share that with Aaron makes it very special. Now you want to make it more special to see all you people that came. Mike Curtin right there. I'm having a hard time not breaking up because it means so much. And people say to me, I never really heard you talking about philosophy in baseball. Philosophy? When I came to Moyne, I didn't know what the hell philosophy meant. I never heard of philosophy. But I'll tell you what happened to me. Back in the 50s and 60s, if you were a baseball player, you went to college. And everybody that could play went to college. And my mother said to me, maybe you shouldn't go there. They got a lot of players. I said, Mom, they don't have players better than me. I'm telling you that right now. So I go to Ithaca. And back in those days, you had the freshman team, and then you had the varsity. Well, our freshman team, it was before the draft, 5 of our players off that freshman team signed a professional contract. I would have been the 6th, and my parents said, "Geez, please stay in school, the best advice I ever had." So now, I get to be a sophomore. It's the second day of practice, and everybody wanted to play for Coach Freeman. Bucky Freeman was the person in baseball. He says to me, "Hey, you, go warm up, Joe." I said, "My name's Dick Rockwell. When you earn the right to make this team, I will remember your name forever." I was never so mad in my life, right? And I think my philosophy, there's a lot of people in this room I hope I didn't offend, with language and so forth and so on. But baseball is such a tough sport and such a humbling sport. You really get humbled in a hurry. I think you take a guy like me to come to LeMoyne College, I had absolutely no idea basically what I was doing, but I did know baseball. I love baseball. I wanted to make this into a baseball program. So I think when you stop and think about it, I really haven't been asked this question until tonight, to the day. What do you contribute to the success that LeMoyne baseball's had over the years? You know what I said? The old-time Jesuit priest. What? How are you talking about? I said, I'm telling you, in the 1960s, if you went 45 miles outside of Syracuse, nobody knew too much about the college. But they did know about the Jesuits. And they did know the reputation of Jesuits with education. So, we had no facilities. Joe Wilson's family, their father went to Syracuse University, dropped baseball. They bought all the equipment. They got a police escort to bring the batting cage over. Tommy and I was there. His dad gave me 3,000 balls the first couple of years of play. If it wasn't for Tex Simone and the Chiefs, if it wasn't for Jim Fanning with the Montreal Expos, story nobody heard. Jim DeShays was going to Cornell. He got drafted by Montreal. I'm managing in the New York Penn League. We're in Jamestown, a Montreal farm club. We get rained out. Pat Doherty's the manager. Pat Mullen comes in as a hitting instructor who's a famous. He said to me, "If I come by and pick you up, we want to go talk to you and have a couple beers." Well, they got drunk. And so I ended up driving back. But I said, "Hey, can you do me a favor?" He said, "What's that?" I said, "You guys drafted a pitcher to see in New York. If you can't sign, will you ask Mr. Fanning?" So, I'm on the road, I'm in Jamestown, I think we go to area, we go to Knoxville. I come back home. My wife says, "Mr. DeShays called you." "What's he want?" I said, "I have no idea." He says, "Would you honor the $1,500 scholarship if Jim decides to come to LeMoyne?" "Absolutely," I said. Because in the meantime, we already had Tom Browning, I'll talk about that in a minute. So now, I don't know, a couple weeks go by, Jamestown comes into Auburn. Russ and guys, there's some guys in this room might have been out of that club. I take the lineup card up. Pat Doherty says to me, "When are you going to say thank you?" "Thank you for what?" "I understand you got a pretty good pitcher out of the machine in New York." "Geez, you guys have anything?" "No, we had nothing to do with that." Well, Mr. Fanning said to him, "Hey, if you really want to be a baseball player, you might want to go to LeMoyne and play for Rockwell." So now, you get Tom Browning, you get Jim DeShays, you got Joe Moyne in there, and I'm telling you, the dumbest guy in this room could have won with that talk. And so I think
I think that's what happened, and now when I say the genuine, you know, J.J. O'Brien was a chemistry professor, they like to travel with me a lot. In fact, we're probably the only team in the country to have mass poolside at a national tournament, like other teams come back. I mean, it was just, you heard the story about he getting thrown out of Colgate with me, but if you put him in the kitchen, drinking coffee with a mother, when you left that house, he was coming home LeMoyne College. And the criticism that I would give would be, gee, Joe, the deserts are hard, they're hard, and those are tough. I said, you know, really, they are hard. They are tough. But if you earn their respect, they will be the most practical person that will ever help you out. It'll set the foundation. So then all of a sudden, all players started coming in. All players coming in. So, I don't know anything about public speaking, but I know one thing, they say, geez, don't start naming names because you're going to leave people out. Well, I'm going to name some names of Jesuit priests. And I could talk a half hour about each one of them, if you don't want to hear that. But I start with Father Riley that hired me. Then we go, probably the best person I ever worked for was Father Mitchell. But then you had Father Moyne who went to Boston College. Then you had Father Ridley, who went to Loyola, was smart enough to take Father Nash down to Loyola. And then you had Father J.J. O'Brien, and you had Father Ryan. Father Ryan was past my baseball. He was my mentor as an athletic director. I didn't know what the house was an athletic director either. But he would help me get through. And I can remember it made all the papers, made all the magazines. I made the statement, I never make a major decision without running it by Father Ryan. And the faculty, the members of this faculty criticized, why would you admit that you can't make your own decision? I said, hey, don't accuse me of not being able to make decisions. But it's the kind of respect I have. And I think that when we talk about respect and we talk about one of the highlights when you get old and you get together with ball players and you start telling stories and everybody's better than you were and you were smarter than you were and so forth and so on. But the single characteristic of Moyne College, let's face it, our facilities are what we have. Can you imagine if we had the portal during our play? We wouldn't have any players here. Yeah. You would all been gone. I get a shortstop on a Bakerstown, right? I see a picture from New Hartford. He'd come to be like a training camp here. They'd be gone. I just, I laugh with Coach Owens, but, he got shafted last year in the NCAA tournament and so forth. He's at Rutgers. And I said to him, how many guys you got in the portal? So we're talking about. I said, no, how many players on the roster? He said, I don't know, 14 to 15. Oh, really? I said, you know me better than most people. If you took my best player in the portal, would you expect a Christmas card from me at Christmas? So, that's not going to happen. You've irritated 15 people. You've got to figure out any of those athletic directors on that committee and the people that don't like the Big Ten, what is the main reason why they have. But, getting back to the portal, when we were playing Division II, and you guys that have played Division II have heard this over and over, I would say, if you're going to compete in Division II, you better have Division I players, because you can't win at Division II or Division II players. It's too difficult. And so, over the years, I think back to Eric. I don't know who made the decision to honor Eric and me. But forgive me for a minute, but whoever did it is a genius, because Eric Holtz symbolizes everything that you would want in a player. Tough, compassion. When we get together, we talk baseball all the time, and the guys who played here really played with, and so one of the funny things with grandkids, Cole's here, Mike was a freshman on the team, but I would say to them, you'd be walking, see those buildings over there? There's two guys I had put balls on that building, and that old guy, he knows what he's talking about. Mike and Randy. And son of a gun, he comes up from Florida yesterday, and I get to talk with him. Nobody hit balls on the top of that building like Randy Marshall. And what makes it even funnier, I think, is Pam and I went down to Portland Friday to watch Cole play. Cole plays going on, and they got shellacked. We're coming out.
Thanks, Grandma. Thanks, Grandma.
I'm trying to be polite. What are the things you learn in general education? You learn to try to be polite. But I think that, you talk about stories like that, it just makes you, you're really grateful for the opportunity. And you get to share it with people. Hey, let's face it. Tommy Russell told me last night, you were only 26, 27 when I was there. Yeah, but I was smarter than those 26-year-olds, I said. Well, that probably wasn't true. but the point is, I come out of the baseball program at Ithaca. Obviously, we played in the World Series in '62. Obviously, my philosophy has been, hey, let guys do what they can do. Don't fight with them, just get better players. And if you came into LeMoyne during the heyday, you might not play your junior. There's a lot of players in there. And my philosophy was, hey, if you don't want to play, we'll play this guy. And this guy would step in, he'd get 2 hits, and then this guy that sat down, thought, hey, maybe I better get with him. And I think that philosophy has brought closeness of players. And I think that when you talk about respect that I had for Father Ryan, for example, it's the respect that I had for players who become teachers, become coaches, become accountants, even lawyers. All you lawyers said that. Lawyers, doctors, dentists, businessmen. And now this is gonna make me sound old. Flex, I know you think I'm lying, but I'm not lying. It is this. The thing that makes me the problem, I think, is the number of letters and emails. Coach, we're sorry we can't be there. We're gonna watch the grandson play baseball. We're gonna watch the daughter go to a play. We're gonna babysit with the kids. They become family people. And I think that whole atmosphere is what LeMoyne College is all about. So, I could go on and on, but I'll tell you, I don't mind when you look at your watch and see, but I can't take it when you hold it up to see if the watch is stopped. I know I've talked too long. So, having said that, hey, thanks so much. Here's a guy that all he wants to do is play baseball. Got LeMoyne. All I want to do is coach and play the way it should be played. And the thing that I take a lot of pride in is I'll be out somewhere and I'll hear, so. He played baseball in Moyne. He must have loved the play. He must have been tough as nails. He must have been a pretty good player. And when you put a pretty good player who's gone through that. I know you've heard this. Show me a kid that's satisfied getting C's in the classroom, and I'll show you a player that's satisfied going 1 for 4. And you show me a player that's satisfied going 1 for 4, and I'll show you the team that's gonna get beat. And I think if you have that philosophy, and if you take what the Jesuits did again, yeah, without the Jesuits, we'd have a baseball program. But it wouldn't be like the baseball program we have now. And the priests that I mentioned, I could talk a half hour about each one of them. They all had an integral part of the success of LeMoyne baseball. So, in closing, I've already said my watch is broken, so I will close with this. Those of you that come back for a day like today, a beautiful day like today, I am so grateful. And I think, listening to Scott talk, I think the baseball is in good hands. I'm proud to have been part of it. I hope to continue to be part of it. So with that said, there are no more awards I can give people, so this is it. Thank you very much.